Sometimes it could feel like modern dating is hopeless. I mean, you hear it constantly on social media, on podcasts, and from your friends. There's no hope for finding a partner in modern society, and we're all doomed to fail and die alone. Or at least that's what the common message is these days. It's hard to meet people, it's hard to connect with people, it's hard to approach people, it's hard to say the right things, it's hard to know what you're supposed to do. You don't want to get canceled for saying the wrong thing, you don't want to look stupid, you need more Instagram clout, and the list goes on and on and on. But I think many people are looking at this the wrong way, and your interpretation of the situation is what's causing dating to feel so futile. And I think there's a way to fix it. So let me explain what I mean by this. I'm actually no longer single for once, and have met what I can only describe as the girl of my dreams. And you know when I met her? When I stopped caring and stopped trying. That's the irony. I know, it sounds stupid, counterproductive, and stereotypical, but I promise that there will actually be some value here once we get into it. I spent years trying to find the girl for me. I did all of the things that I thought I should do. I was on dating apps. I bought Tinder Premium. I know, what a loser. I was looking presentable and dressing nice and smelling good and hitting the gym occasionally and asserting my dominance and all the stupid stuff that you hear people like Andrew Tate talking about online. And guess what? I was still alone. I rarely got matches on dating apps, and when I did, it was like talking to a wall. In fact, I think my dog could have better conversations than the stuff I experienced on Hinge, and she doesn't even speak human. It just felt so empty and meaningless, and I started to lose hope. And after years of trying, I gave up. Not saying I became all doomer and thought that all hope was lost. I just decided that it wasn't worth my time and started focusing on other things. I focused on my work and picked up some new hobbies like DJing, reading, and getting into coffee. I know, kind of pretentious, but I enjoyed it. I kind of thought that dating was a lost cause and just figured, you know what, I'm gonna do what I genuinely want to do and not live my life so that I could attract girls. Because that tends to happen when you're single. Instead of hitting the gym to look good for some random girl that I probably won't even meet, I went because it made me feel amazing. I started reading interesting books and listening to interesting podcasts, not so that I had fun facts to share with people that I may or may not go on a date with. I did it to expand my knowledge, learn new things, and entertain myself. I saved the money that I was spending on stupid nights, standing around at the bar and pretending like I was going to talk to girls even though I never did, and used it to go on a trip to Greece and Croatia, which, believe it or not, was not as expensive as you would think. I started living my life for me, immersed myself into the moment, hung out with friends without caring if women were there or not, and worked hard on what I was doing. I put my head down and just lived my life the way I normally should have been. And after a year of not caring about dating, I noticed something. I was becoming a more interesting person. I was becoming pretty passionate about my new hobbies. I was learning a ton of new information. I was in pretty decent shape. My Greece and Croatia trips gave me cool stories to tell, like how we hitchhiked in rural Greece at 3 a.m. and explored the town where King's Landing was filmed in Game of Thrones. And I was doing all of these things for me, and nobody else. And guess what? Now that I was becoming more interesting, I started to stand out. See, one of the problems with modern dating and its heavy emphasis on the internet is that it makes it kind of hard to stand out. Instead of learning about someone through mutual friends or seeing them in public, all you get is a 2-sentence bio and some still photos that were curated and photoshopped to look as good as possible. Photos that were staged to potentially attract someone. It's all signaling, and that's the irony of all of it. Nothing that you see on these apps or on social media is real life. It's girls curating their profile to try to seem as interesting as possible, and guys doing the exact same thing but for girls. It's all this stupid, superficial game where nobody's actually learning about each other, nobody's actually connecting with each other, and it's all just signaling to try to attract someone. Everyone on dating apps seems so interesting, but in reality, it's all a facade, and it's full of lies to try to attract people of the opposite sex. So, these people all seem so interesting, but once the conversations begin, nobody's actually interesting. It's all fake. So, conversations on dating apps die out, people project their dating app failures onto real life, and then next thing you know, nobody's talking to each other and everyone has lost hope. But when you spend time becoming more interesting, building new hobbies, finding your passions, exploring the world, learning a new skill, you actually stand out among a sea of posers. And when you stand out, you're setting yourself up for success. See, this is what I'm saying. If you could build your foundation on authenticity, you're more likely to attract a girl. At least if you're looking for a girl. If you're looking for a guy, honestly, it's the same thing. Regardless, dating works out a lot better for you if you're authentic, and these dating apps basically encourage you to not be authentic. So instead of constantly chasing dating from a perspective of, oh, I have to do what I have to do and I really hope this works out, you should just be authentic with what you truly are, and it'll actually work out better for you in the long term. Sure, there's still the massive obstacle of finding the person that you want to actually connect with, but when you're on a path of your own and you're genuinely enjoying that path, things just seem to fall into place. It's kind of weird. Because you're living your authentic life, the people that you do randomly connect with are more likely to actually get along with you and see you for who you are, because you're not pretending to be someone else. But I will say, there's a paradox here. You can't try to become a more interesting person in order to become more successful in dating down the line. Doing that defeats the entire purpose and puts you back at square one. So you need to genuinely find things that make you happy and pursue them for your own selfish motives. You need to genuinely want to become a better version of yourself. Then, once you craft yourself into the person that you want to be, you'll find someone else who also wants that person. Do you really expect someone to want to date a person that isn't even happy with themselves? That isn't living an authentic life for themselves? I mean, when you really break it down, it makes sense. So stop focusing on doing things to make other people attracted to you. Find a way to channel your motivation in a way that helps you improve your outlook on your life, become a more interesting person, get in better shape, and treat the world as a sandbox that you can explore, learn, and interact with. From here, you'll find much more fulfillment, and that fulfillment will be contagious, which ironically, in the long run, will help you find the person that you've been chasing the entire time. There's no point in trying to find someone else when you haven't even established who you even are. And I'm not saying that this is a one-stop solution to fix all problems in dating. There's a whole variety of other things that are problematic. But if you live a life that's authentic to yourself, you'll be a lot happier, which is a win, even if dating doesn't work out very well. If you want, I could share my thoughts on how you can actually meet people in dating, because that is a huge obstacle still. So let me know, and I'd love to share what I think and kind of what worked for me. If you do this, it's the first step of a journey that'll become the best journey of your life, and it's something that you won't regret doing. Did you know that 64% of men between the ages of 18 to 29 are single, and that over 57% of single adults in the United States said they weren't interested in dating at all? We live in a dating crisis. Well, we live in an everything crisis, and dating is just a small part of what has been affected. Over 364 million people use dating apps worldwide as of 2025, and 60 million of these are in the United States alone. Active users spend, on average, 80 minutes per day on these apps, and dating apps earned $4 billion last year on just Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. Dating has become an extremely profitable industry, milked by tech startups to extract as much value as possible out of lonely people seeking connection. Your emotional needs are being commodified, and these companies have found a way to manipulate you into giving them money to fix the void caused by an increasingly complicated social landscape, and it's doing nothing for you. And because of this situation, it's easy to feel hopeless, as if you're going to be single forever. After a long antisocial day of school or work, you open up a dating app to swipe on hundreds of pictures of attractive people to no avail, and then pretend like you don't care just to feel better about the entire situation. But you know, maybe, just maybe, if you subscribe to the premium version of that cute little app you're using, you'll have a better shot. The feeling will go away, I promise. Just give Tinder $25 per month and all of your social and environmental needs will be filled, and you'll live happily ever after. Trust me, I understand why it seems hopeless and how the idea of finding a girlfriend or a boyfriend is a cause that is beyond help. And I get why so many people don't want to deal with it and have completely checked out of the dating market altogether. It's just not worth the exhaustion and the negative feelings that surround the entire process, so why try? And that's the state of where we are today. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be this way? That there's actually a way to fix your dating life, to experience the fullness of connecting with other people, and to eventually find someone who gets you for who you are. And if you give me until the end of this video, I hope that I can give you a bit of optimism that you have a chance in the dating market, that I can give you the little push that you need to get started on something that can completely change your life. Now, this is where a typical YouTube video on this topic would go into detail about how you have to follow a 10-step plan and subscribe to some slimy YouTube guru's online course, and bada bam, bada boom, look at that, you now have 10 girlfriends, a bunch of money in your pocket, the perfect body, a 4-hour work week, and the social capital to DM anyone you want on Instagram and instantly become best friends with them. But that's not the point of this video. I mean, did you notice that this video has Minecraft gameplay in the background? Yeah, we're tired of all of that garbage, and this channel is trying to bring the internet back to Earth, to reality. So if you like this video or the mission here, consider supporting me on Patreon using the link in the description. It's a great way to show that you like these videos, and it supports me because I'm never going to be taking sponsorships, brand deals, or anything like that on this channel. So if you like this video and it helps you and you want to support, consider checking it out in the description. So back to the topic of dating, how do you start? What is the first step? Well, it starts with getting off dating apps and taking a break from social media. Dating apps are perceived as the best and sometimes the only way to meet other people in present day. In fact, I think most people would find dating apps a prerequisite for dating, and you probably can't meet people at all unless you actively use them. But this just isn't true. I met my girlfriend the second I got off dating apps, and I firmly believe that they are one of the things that are hurting the dating market the most and causing the most people to feel more helpless than ever before. When you outsource your dating efforts to an app, sorted by an algorithm and full of user-created profiles, you give up a very natural element of how dating has always worked. Everyone with a Tinder or Hinge profile specifically curates their image to appear in a way that they think will attract the most other people. Pictures are snapped from the perfect angle in the coolest places with the best lighting and the best vibes to show how cool and interesting you are. Your prompts and your bio are curated to showcase your humor, your amazing personality traits, and your super interesting and diverse range of hobbies. You have to successfully convince every single person that you swipe on that you're even worth their time, and if you don't do a good job at doing that, you will never get any matches. This is not a natural way to date other people, and it's caused people's expectations, including yours, to be insanely unrealistic. If someone doesn't look attractive, you can say that you aren't interested from the jump. If they support a political movement that you don't agree with, you can pre-select and screen out everyone who isn't aligned with you. If they aren't blonde or below a certain height or aren't interested in drinking alcohol, you could filter your search and only see people who meet your exact criteria. While this sounds good on the surface, it makes it so that people on dating apps expect everyone they see to have zero flaws whatsoever. It's like starting a Fallout New Vegas run and having infinite points to put into every category on your character. That's the expectation. I mean, if you already filtered to craft your dream person and then you match with them, you're going to be disappointed when you find out that they have this one thing that really bothers you. When they aren't as attractive in person, when they aren't as funny as their profile prompts make you think they are, or when they're just a little less exciting than you originally thought, you give up and go back on the app to find the next one. This is why you often get ghosted on apps when you match with someone. I mean, they swiped on you, so you'd think they like you, but halfway through your conversation, they get bored and now you're sitting there confused and frustrated. This is why you can have some conversations but never get a date. And this is why sometimes you don't get any matches to begin with. If you can't successfully curate a profile, entertain the other person like a clown at a circus for the entirety of your conversation, and somehow land a date without them losing interest or getting cold feet, then you're toast. And online dating is going to be extremely unsuccessful for you. But it's okay because there are tens of thousands of other options in your area, so you aren't attached to the outcome and you can just go back to swiping until you find one that actually works out. Why am I saying this? Because it was me. I barely got any matches when I was on dating apps, and when I would have a good conversation, most of the girls would lose interest for no reason halfway through. If I ever did successfully manage to secure a date, I wasn't ever convinced that the girl really wanted to be there and that they were just trying to see if it would work because they were lonely. If the date did go well, which most of the time it didn't, I wouldn't really feel like having another one with them. It felt forced and pointless, and every girl had some sort of flaw that made me not excited to pursue them, and I never felt as if I was making girls excited to continue talking to me either. Throughout college, I spent collective years on dating apps, swiping through God knows how many people to try to find someone. And throughout all this time, I landed a handful of mediocre dates, and that was it. And this is also the case for pretty much all of my friends too. I've mentioned this before, but I have a ton of friends who are still actively using dating apps to this day, some of them swiping through thousands of people per month, going on quite a few dates, and still ending up single and hopeless at the end of the day, so I know I am not alone here. Because here's the thing. When you have the perception of endless options, you attach no value to the ones that you do have. The one girl who only checks off some of the boxes for you can wait because a better one may reach out tomorrow, and this hypothetical girl may have all the boxes checked off. The message that you send to the girl on the app that you think seems cool doesn't need much effort put into it, because you can just send 100 other messages over the next hour, copy and paste, and hope for the best. The whole system becomes a statistical game, and the human element of dating is thrown completely out the window. And this is just the online part. The part that's confined to your screen and your apps. But this mindset carries over into the real world as well. Now, with the idea that through these apps you can define the exact type of girl you're looking for and give simple, preemptive yes or no responses based on what you think about these people, you do the same thing in the real world. If you see someone in public, but maybe they aren't quite the girl you envisioned yourself with, you don't take a chance and talk to them. There are plenty of fish in the online sea, so who cares if you miss an opportunity to say hi to a girl who catches your eye at a coffee shop? In fact, talking to girls in real life isn't even in the realm of possibilities anymore. It's way easier, way less uncomfortable to swipe, send some cheesy pickup lines that you found on Reddit, and hope for the best without any risk of true rejection. Worst case, if a girl says she isn't interested or doesn't respond, you can block her or unmatch and move on to the next one the exact same minute. The ones in real life become interchangeable with the ones online, with the online ones replacing the opportunities in the real world and making it so that you have no incentive to talk to them without using the app as a shield. Now, that was a lot, but I think you understand my point. In the grand scheme of dating, online apps end up taking priority over real-life interactions, making you forget that, before dating apps, real life was the only way to meet new people. Our parents, grandparents, and pretty much anyone in the dating market for all of modern history started their relationships by walking up, introducing themselves, saying hi, and most importantly, feeling uncomfortable. It's not natural to feel this comfortable all the time with dating, and by removing any and all anxiety or nervousness through the shield of a screen, you're missing out on what dating really means. So you need to delete these dating apps to bring dating back to the real world. You need to notice people that you're attracted to in the physical world, and you need to tell yourself that talking to these people in person is the only way that you're going to get a meaningful date. Forget that the apps even exist, and once you force yourself to use real-life interactions as your only options, you'll feel more inclined to walk up to someone in public and start that conversation. I realize that this is much easier said than done. Getting the confidence to walk up to someone in public, smile at them, and say something that isn't completely moronic is a lot to ask, and even thinking about this process can be anxiety-inducing for a lot of people. What do you say? What should you do? Should you ask for her number? The list of questions goes on. But let's take a step back here. Before you worry about any of this stuff, you need to put yourself in a physical environment where you're around people that share similar interests or hobbies. You need to be in spaces where human interaction is easy to begin with, and it'll take a lot of the guesswork out of those conversation starters. Go to coffee shops, even if you aren't a coffee shop guy, and hang out. Sit at those big community tables where there's a chance that other people are near you. Don't go out and order a coffee to go and say you tried. Don't sit in the corner facing away from everyone and say you tried. You need to put yourself in places where you can interact with other humans. Join a club of some kind, start a new hobby like rock climbing, take your dog to a dog park, go grab a beer at a brewery with a friend and sit at the bar. The options are endless. All you really have to do here is find a place where you see people just hanging out and put yourself in those places. And for God's sake, when you get there, don't go on your phone and scroll on TikTok. Don't wear headphones and listen to solace videos. Don't close yourself off. Make it so that you seem as if you're open to talking to other people. And do it often so that you have more chances. These places are where you start to see opportunities to talk to other people. Yeah, if you see a pretty girl across the bar and she's making eye contact with you from 85 yards away in a group of 13 people, it's pretty damn hard, if not impossible, to find a way to talk to her. You have to get up, walk over, think of something to say that you can relate to her with, navigate her friend group, and not look stupid while doing all of this. It's a lot of steps and there's a lot that can go wrong. But if a girl is sitting next to you at the dog park and you think she's cute, it's a lot easier to casually strike up a conversation. Ask her what kind of dog she has, how old her dog is, or something about what she's reading or wearing or listening to. Ask questions. Don't think about how you can throw a sleazy compliment in to make it clear that you like her. Don't say some stupid pickup line that you saw on Reddit. Talk to her like a normal human being and have no real goal other than a fun conversation. From here, she'll get a feel for your vibe, and if you seem cool and she enjoys the conversation, you will know. Don't instantly assume that you're making her insanely uncomfortable just by talking to her. Don't assume that she hates you and she thinks you're ugly and that you smell bad. Because the thing is, she would walk away and move somewhere else if this was the case. If the conversation continues and naturally flows between the both of you, then there's some chemistry and consider hanging out and asking for her number eventually. If the conversation feels dry and you have to keep thinking about things to say and she's looking away and she seems uninterested, then drop it. Don't ask anything, just accept the fact that this wasn't it and move on, proud of the fact that you struck up the conversation to begin with. I mean, think about it. If you were using a dating app, you wouldn't ask a girl on a date when she hasn't responded to 3 messages in a row. You'd start a conversation, feel it out, and if she seems interested, then maybe you'd ask her on a date. Why would it be any different in the real world? So just go with the flow, and you don't really have to think about what you should be doing. Have a normal conversation and kind of read the room to see if she's interested or not. If she's not, she probably will make it very clear that she's not, and then you know not to embarrass yourself by asking for her number. But if the conversation seems to be going well, then it's time to actually make a move. You just have to put yourself out there in the real world, chat like you're chatting to anyone else on the planet, and if it goes well, give it a shot. If it doesn't go well and she thinks you're weird and says she has to go, then who cares? The fact that you even went out of your comfort zone to talk to her is something that you should genuinely feel proud of. If you keep doing this and get more experience socializing in the real world without the shield of dating apps or social media, you'll start to see a lot of progress in your confidence and it'll get much easier every single time. And when you do get a conversation that goes well, because I promise you it will happen eventually, ask for the girl's number. Again, this is another thing that doesn't take a lot of strategy. You don't have to be smooth or cool or whatever. If the conversation's going good and you've been talking for 10 or 15 minutes and you get the vibe that she's actually kind of enjoying it, just tell her the truth. Explain how you really like talking to her and ask if you can get her number. Talk about how you're trying to meet new people in your area and that she seems interesting and ask for her number. It's actually far more casual than you'd think, and I think many people would prefer a more human approach like this instead of some stupid pickup line that they've heard 1,000 times. If she's single and maybe she's interested in getting to know you more, she'll give you her number. If she isn't into you or if she has a boyfriend, she'll probably tell you. Sure, she may give you your number simply because she doesn't like confrontation and doesn't want to say no, but even then, this isn't a big deal because one of 3 things will happen from this interaction. 1, she does like you and you get her number and start talking. 2, she doesn't like you or isn't interested and she'll say no and won't give you her number. Or 3, she'll lie and give you her number just because she doesn't want to say no because she's a nice person. Number 1 and 3 seem hard to tell the difference between, but they aren't, because if she doesn't answer the first text you send her in a day or so, she probably isn't interested and it probably was option 3. But even here, in the worst case scenario of the 3 options, what really happens? You gained valuable dating experience, and dude, do you see how much progress you just made? You should be proud of what you did, getting out, getting uncomfortable, and asking a girl for her number. Sure, maybe she didn't text back and you feel a bit disappointed, but I promise you the next girl that you're interested in will be a lot easier to talk to. And if after all of this, she does actually like you for who you are, you'll easily be able to keep texting her. The first text just needs to be something like, "Hey, it's Solace, met you at the dog park. It was really nice to chat with you. I'm going back on Friday, would you like to join?" Again, there's starting to be a pattern here, and it's just to be natural with this kind of stuff and stop attaching so much value to every word, comment, and interaction that you have with people in public. If you guys have personalities that align, the conversation will flow. And if the conversation feels terrible, I'm going to be honest with you, it probably wouldn't work out anyways, so who cares? Now, most importantly, keep in mind that you need to be yourself. If you pretend to be someone else in these interactions, people will pick up on it, and I promise you they will see right through it. So don't say the things that you think the other person wants to hear. Say how you really feel and think, and if they don't like it, then they probably aren't the one for you anyways. There was a lot of information here, but the key takeaway is this. There are plenty of fish in the sea, but they're in the real-life sea, and they require real-life effort to date. People are tired of dating apps. I mean, look, you're tired of them, so why would you assume that this isn't the case for others as well? People are longing for human interaction, and by getting out there and socializing, making yourself available, and going with the flow while getting social practice, your dating success is going to be much better than it would be just sitting on Tinder, sliding into people's DMs on Instagram, and hoping a girlfriend is going to appear at your door overnight. Doing this does increase your risk of rejection, but every person who isn't interested gives you valuable experience, helps you learn more about yourself, and helps your social skills outside of dating. These improved social skills can change your life in other areas. They can help you make new friends, do well at work, and so many other things. So I know it's hard, but give it a try, it may just work. What are your thoughts on all of this? What has your dating experience been like? Have you tried this? Has it worked? Let me know in the comments because there are so many people in this community who can help you figure it out. And if you want to connect with these people and make new friends to go through this stuff together, consider joining the Discord linked in the description. At the store, at the gym, at the dentist, online, you're always thinking about women. Every swipe, every scroll, every possible interaction in public. Women are always on your mind, and you're like an owl when you're out in the world, keeping your head on a swivel and looking around for the next possible interaction with a woman that could go somewhere and lead to you being able to get a girlfriend. And whether you're into women or something else, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The constant urge to meet someone, to fall in love, is always there, and it distracts you from things a lot more than you'd like to admit. It sounds crazy, but it really is common. When we're lonely, we want to meet someone to fill that void, and since dating opportunities feel so limited these days, we need to be ready at any time to make sure that we don't miss any of these opportunities. I tried to be extremely aware for years, quickly sending messages to any online dating matches, trying to come up with any excuse to swipe up on a girl's Instagram story where she remembers who I am, and looking around to see if there was anyone who seemed even remotely interested in me in public. It distracted me from things that I should have been enjoying, and it was like a constant weight in the back of my mind that never really went away. As I got more and more lonely, I found myself starting to do things that I wouldn't normally do to find a girlfriend. I said things that I didn't really believe, went to bars that I didn't really like going to, and started lowering my standards to start relationships with women who didn't respect me and probably cheated on me, to be honest. I thought that making more money would help, that putting on more muscle was the key to my success, and that doing X, Y, and Z that some random crusty dude online said would change the game and allow me to finally attract women. But it didn't work. See, we live in a world where there's an incentive for people online to sell you stuff, to convince you that you're less than you are in order to help fill that void with their stupid online class or guide. So somehow, this landscape has caused people to think that they need to be a certain way or to do a certain thing in order to attract someone. And this seems like the reality when you see these random street interviews where women say that they won't even look at a guy unless he's over 6 feet and drives a $100,000 plus car, which reinforces the cycle and has somehow convinced everyone that they need to possess a list of superficial traits in order to not be alone. And it just isn't true. In fact, I think that you should stop trying to attract women altogether. Not to give up, but actually, well, to get a girlfriend. It doesn't make sense, but I think it will by the end of this video, so stick with me. Let's go back to the perception that people have about dating. Again, online, you always hear about the traits that women are looking for. You need to be rich, have a six-pack, have a large social media following, a charming personality, no nerdy tendencies because anime and gaming are cringe, and the list goes on. These ideas are reinforced by online gurus who get money by talking about these things, and those street interviews where some random guy is asking women in the street what they think. But, well, the people selling stuff clearly just want you to feel like you're missing something so that you can buy what they're selling, and the street interviews are often at night, outside of bars or nightclubs in cities like Miami, where those are, in fact, the things that people are looking for in those areas. Of course, the woman who just came from the nightclub where she got in for free, had all of her drinks paid for, and lives in a city where showing off money and status is 90% of one's day-to-day would have said that. That's probably what she wants. And do you think the guy would have posted the street interview of the woman who just said she's looking for someone who loves her, encourages her to be the best that she can, and is there for her when she's feeling bad? Of course not. And of course, the online gurus aren't going to make any money by saying that you need to work on your emotional intelligence, work out a few times a week so that you feel good about yourself, and find something that you're passionate about that guides you. Nobody's going to click on a video or buy a course for that. And I'm sure for that reason, this video is probably not going to do that good as well. The stuff that people post online is a self-perpetuating cycle, pretending that certain things are the reality, which then reinforces those things and causes more people to make content on them, causing more people to believe that they're true. But they really aren't true, and there's no formula or list of boxes that you need to check off to meet or attract women. So stop trying to perform, to be someone that you aren't, or to level up, and just try to be a human. I was single throughout pretty much all of college, and when I switched my mindset, I ended up meeting the girl of my dreams, and I'm confident that she's the girl I'm going to marry one day. So, what did I do? Well, the first thing is this: stop chasing a specific outcome with women. When your goal is to just get her number or make her like you, it shows, and not in a good way. Most people know what it feels like when someone's only talking to them because they want something. It's off-putting and obvious, like when someone approaches you on the street or in the mall to try to get you to buy something. That same feeling applies here. If you're forcing a conversation or hyping her up just to win her over, she'll pick up on it instantly. Instead, approach women like you'd approach anyone, without putting them on a pedestal or pretending to be someone you're not. Don't hide your actual interest or change your personality just to impress. When you treat people like people, not prizes, the anxiety and effort melt away and you start having genuine, relaxed interactions. When you're trying too hard to make someone like you, it's easy for them to sense it. It took a while for me to realize this, but once I stopped treating conversations with women like auditions, everything changed. Suddenly, I wasn't exhausting myself trying to remember some winning line or second-guessing how I was coming across. I just let the conversation happen. Some went nowhere, so what? Others felt surprisingly easy. And this type of conversation is what I had when I first met my girlfriend, and it's a big part of why we hit it off so early. I didn't hide my interests or my nerdy tendencies or my music tastes. I was truly myself, and she liked me for who I am, not for who I was pretending to be. But there's one thing that comes before this, and that's figuring out who you are. Social media, these online gurus, and even friends unintentionally feed you these ideas of who you should become if you want to be accepted. Pretty soon, it's easy to forget what genuinely matters to you or what you enjoy doing when nobody's watching. Real connection has to start with you being real, but you can't do that if you've lost track of yourself. So before you worry about being liked, take a hard look inward and ask yourself some basics, free from outside expectations. What are your real goals? Yours, not ones borrowed from some influencer or your parent. Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years, not just with relationships, but in how you live every day? What actually brings you joy? What do you do for fun when no one's grading you on looking cool? If money were no object, how would you spend your days, or what would you choose for work? What weird foods, hobbies, or random obsessions light you up for no reason at all? Give yourself permission to answer honestly, even if those answers sound ordinary or cringe by someone else's standards. That's the foundation. When you know who you are and you give yourself space to honor those parts of yourself, the right people notice and they want to be around you because of that, not in spite of it. I'm extremely passionate about YouTube, learning philosophy, country music, and coffee shops, and while these are a weird, unimpressive group of personality traits, they really are a big part of who I am. The night I met the girl who is now my girlfriend, I was able to passionately talk about these things. I didn't hide them, I didn't try to push them aside to be only interested in NFTs and sports gambling so that she would like me. I came forward with who I am, and she liked who I was, so it worked out. Because even if you do pretend, and she does like the fake version of you, she's gonna find the real one eventually. So don't hide it, because you're setting yourself up for disaster if you do. Discover yourself and make it clear who you are and what you believe, and you won't have to try and attract women. Some woman, somewhere, will one day find these things attractive. And it's hard to discover yourself, especially by yourself. Most of my passions and hobbies are things that I discovered while connecting with other people who gave me new ideas and helped me to learn who I truly was. So if you're struggling to meet people like that, consider joining my Discord and Minecraft server using the link in the description. We have over 2,000 members who are all into topics like this, and it's a great place to chat and make new friends online. And we have a whitelisted Minecraft server solely for members of the Discord that is a lot of fun, so check it out and I will see you there. And if you're enjoying this content, consider liking, subscribing, or maybe even buying me a coffee using the link in the description. I appreciate your support, and let's get back to what we were talking about. Without the performances of trying to impress women and an idea of who you really are, it's time to discuss the flip side of this coin. Something that a lot of people aren't going to want to hear. While you should never pretend to be someone that you aren't in order to attract women, there are some things that you really should try and work on if you want to keep a woman interested in you and have success in long-term relationships. And these aren't only traits for relationships, but traits that will contribute to your overall success and happiness. I'm not talking about faking anything or scrambling to buy a six-figure car or hit the gym out of desperation, but about building a life and habits that make you better, more fulfilled, and more confident. Here are some things worth focusing on. Emotional intelligence. Learn to talk about your feelings, not just bottle them up. Listen when someone's upset, own up when you're wrong, and try to understand where people are coming from, even if you don't agree. Real relationships need real communication, not just surface-level jokes and banter. Self-sufficiency and ambition. Have goals outside of dating. Work on something that matters to you: career, school, side hustles, creative projects. You don't need to be rich or hyper-successful, but having a sense of direction and drive is attractive because it shows that you aren't looking for someone else to fix your life. Respect for others. Treat people well, regardless of what they can offer you. It sounds basic, but it's easy to overlook. The way you talk to waiters and waitresses, family, strangers, or people online says more about you than any flex that you can post on Instagram. Curiosity and openness. Try new things, read books, watch movies outside of your comfort zone, travel if you can, even if it's just exploring your own city. Stay curious about life, it keeps you interesting and it makes conversations effortless. Accountability. When you mess up, admit it. When you don't know something, own it. Accountability builds trust faster than pretending to be perfect. Healthy boundaries. Know what you won't accept in a relationship, how you expect to be treated, and what your deal breakers are. Boundaries don't mean being rigid or controlling, they mean knowing when to walk away from situations or people that don't align with your values or well-being. Taking care of yourself. Not because you need a six-pack, but because feeling good makes life better. Move your body, sleep enough, shower, figure out the style that feels comfortable to you. Do it for yourself, not for the likes or attention. And finally, being present. Actually pay attention and put the phone down sometimes. Ask questions and listen to answers. Being present is rare these days, which is why it stands out. These are just a few things that will not only help you to have more success with women, but also allow you to become a better person. As you learn more about yourself, develop some good traits and stop trying to be so performative. You will, ironically, be able to attract women more successfully if you do this. But the weird thing is, the second that you do all of this in order to attract the women, it becomes pointless. You should try to do these things for yourself, and an improved dating life will come naturally as a result of all of this. I recently saw something online that summarizes everything we've talked about with a good story. Imagine you've always been obsessed with catching butterflies. You run around the field, net in hand, chasing every flash of color, constantly looking, always feeling like you're missing out if you stop for even a second. But the more that you chase, the more the butterflies dart away, sensing your desperation and flying just out of reach. Now, picture a different approach. You decide to pause, put down the net, and focus on building your own garden. You plant the flowers you love, cultivate vibrant colors, and take time to care for the space, watering it, pulling out weeds, giving it sunlight. Maybe at first it's quiet, but with time, as the garden grows more beautiful, butterflies begin to visit on their own. Not because you hunted them, but because they're drawn to what you created. They come and go freely, and the experience is richer and more natural than anything you could have caught with a net. That's what it's like with relationships. The garden is your own life, your passions, your growth, the things that makes you excited to wake up every morning. When you focus on nurturing those things, people are drawn to you out of genuine interest and curiosity. You're not chasing, you're attracting by simply being the best and fullest version of yourself. The less you focus on catching someone, the more you create a space where real, lasting connection can show up. So try and take this into your normal life and see how it works out. I think with time and patience, you'll become exactly who you want to be. Do you agree with the things that I've talked about here? What has been your biggest challenge with dating? Do you have any tips for other people? Let me know in the comments and come chat over on the Discord server. As men, we're supposed to be strong, to hide our emotions, and to remain calm at all times, regardless of what's going on around us. It's what we've been trained to do, to man up, hide our vulnerability, and appear tough at all times. And while I do see the appeal of giving off this type of persona, I don't think it's the solution to, well, anything. In fact, I would argue that all the people pushing heavily for a detached, emotionless existence are missing a crucial point. Life is supposed to have emotions. It's supposed to have depression, sadness, anxiety, happiness, and everything in between. Does it feel like the world's getting lonelier and more depressing? That you struggle to connect with other people? That you're living a dull, pointless existence, and that you don't know what to do, what direction to go in, or who you want to become? Yeah, if you feel like that, you're not alone. In fact, many men these days share those same feelings. It's a growing problem, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't really see. The reason that you're not connecting with other individuals is because you aren't allowing natural human emotions to exist in your life the way that they always have throughout history. Think about it this way. You're out in public and you see someone that you really have the urge to talk to. They seem like someone you would like. Maybe they're talking about something you enjoy, or maybe it's an extremely beautiful girl that you wish you had the confidence to talk to. Your emotions start going crazy. You have the anxious urge to approach this person and talk to them. You're excited about what they're discussing, and you really want to join into the conversation because you feel like you can actually connect with this person. You're nervous because you don't know how they'll respond to your approach. You're feeling all sorts of things about this potential interaction, but you can't show them because you're a man and you need to show the world that you have everything together, that you're confident, and that you don't need anything from anyone. But well, that's just not true. You don't want to come across as needy or dependent on this person. You want to act like you don't really care what the outcome is. But you do. You're pretending like your natural reactions to the situation and your natural emotions that you are currently feeling simply don't exist. So this other person, who you could have easily spoken to, possibly dated, and possibly formed a close friendship with, assumes that you aren't interested. I mean, why would they think otherwise? You're currently looking away and acting like you literally aren't interested. So they don't care to talk to you either, and now both of you guys have missed a prime opportunity to connect and make new friends. You pretend like you don't really care that you missed this opportunity, but deep down, you do. And at this point, you may be thinking, it would be weird to act interested in this stranger, in this potential romantic partner. But that's just how we've been conditioned to think. It's just simply not true. Imagine if you're wearing a t-shirt of your favorite movie or sports team or anything that you're extremely passionate about. Would you feel weird if someone walked up to you and said, "Whoa dude, I also really like that thing," and started a conversation with you about it? No, you probably wouldn't. I mean, you chose that shirt this morning when you went out into public, so you knew there was the risk of other people seeing the shirt. So what makes you think differently when you're the one who sees the shirt? Why would that person feel weird with you approaching? I'm going all over the place, but here's my point. When you hide your emotions, don't express them, and pretend like the things you're feeling don't exist, you miss out on the opportunity to truly connect with the world in a meaningful way. By masking your excitement to a socially acceptable level, by hiding your fear of something because you don't want other people to judge you, and by pretending like extremely sad or happy things don't make you cry, you are isolating yourself. True connection with someone requires a level of vulnerability. Think about the difference between a casual acquaintance and a close friend. With the friend, you've shared fears, dreams, and maybe even embarrassing stories. That openness, while it might feel risky in the moment, is what allowed the relationship to deepen. Hiding our true selves makes genuine bonds nearly impossible, and what we're faced with is a fake, artificial reality where everyone pretends to be strong, independent, and too cool to form new emotional bonds with other people. And let's think about this from the other person's perspective. Ever notice how a friend's genuine excitement can lift your mood? Or how tension between two people can fill a room with unease? Yeah, emotions are expressed even when hidden. This means that projecting detachment often creates distance, even when you feel a glimmer of interest or enjoyment inside. This very detachment is what's making you feel isolated and lonely, because when you aren't attached to anything, how could you ever expect a connection? But there's another level to this. By pretending like you don't care about something, you're ignoring your truest sense of self. You're masking your authentic feelings and going with the status quo of what everyone else expects. And when you do this, you really do a good job at convincing other people that you don't care. And when you don't care, they also hide the fact that they care because they don't want to be the only excited or sad ones among a group of strong stoics. And now, everyone loses. Emotions are a core part of human communication and connection. So when people hide their interest and are no longer conveying how they feel through their eyes, posture, and tone of voice, it makes everything so boring. When people are disconnected from their own feelings, they may also struggle to accurately read the emotional signals that others are sending. And now we all feel lonely. But society has told you that you need to be like Patrick Bateman or Jordan Belfort, a man who remains strong at all times. So you pretend like everything's still okay, causing you to sink further and further into loneliness without a way of expressing it and breaking the cycle. And that's the irony of all of this. The artificial idea of what a true man is backwards. When you refuse to admit fear, you become paralyzed by it. When sadness is off limits, it eats away at you from the inside out. And when you spend all of your energy pretending like nothing matters, you start to believe it's true. It's one thing to be strong, but it's another thing entirely to pretend that you're some superhuman robot. And you know what? The worst part is that everyone else is playing the same game. We're all out there with our invisible masks, too scared to be real, and it's leaving all of us feeling empty inside. A true man doesn't hide from his emotions. A truly healthy masculine man shows these emotions in a controlled way. Because yes, you do need to control them. You can't be spontaneously emotional with random outbursts like a toddler. But you can't pretend like they aren't there at all. Accepting your reality, with all of its ups and downs, is the first step of obtaining what I think of as healthy masculinity. Once you do this, you can actually solve your problems. If you pretend that your current work situation isn't making you anxious, you're never going to move to a better work situation because you're ignoring your reality. If you act like your toxic relationship isn't a problem, you're never going to find a better one. Observing your internal emotions and taking note of them is how you realize what you truly need to do in life, and by hiding them, you're going to sit in the same place feeling terrible forever. You might think that stuffing down these emotions makes you stronger, but it's a lie. Think of it like this. Anger that you never vent in a healthy way simmers and boils inside, ready to explode at any second with way more force than it would have if you just talked to someone about what set you off. Sadness that's always swallowed and ignored turns into a lead weight in your chest, dragging you down day after day. And when you numb yourself to everything, you numb yourself to joy too. It's like buying a tasteless meal because you're afraid of the spice. You avoid pain, sure, but you also miss out on the whole flavor of life. Pleasure is meaningless without the pain that it took to get there. A vacation every single day of the week feels empty when you haven't worked for it. And until you accept the emotions of your life, both negative and positive, your life will feel like that bland, spiceless meal. Wow, that's really great, Solace. You've pointed out another problem with no practical ideas on how to fix it. Really appreciate it, bro. Don't worry, I got you. You need to get more in tune with your emotions, and to do this, you need to start small. Grab a notebook or open a note on your phone, give yourself 10 minutes and just write whatever's on your mind. Worries, things that you're excited about, stuff that pisses you off. No judging yourself, just let it flow. Nobody else is going to read this besides you, so write how you truly feel. And as soon as you do this, you'll begin to acknowledge the fact that these problems do in fact exist, and that maybe you can actually solve them. Accepting these negative emotions is what guides you in the direction with what you need to do next in your life. And here's the thing nobody ever talks about. Journaling isn't just about unloading negativity. When you jot down moments of excitement, what makes you laugh, things you find beautiful, you're mapping out what truly matters to you. That is your compass. Maybe you realize you always light up writing about video games. Time to start exploring that passion. Now, when you connect with others, you've got something real to share and you know what your interests are because you reflect on your journaling. You're not just making small talk anymore, you're opening a door to a piece of yourself. That vulnerability, that's the key to building bonds that actually mean something. And now, you're going to be taking steps towards fixing the loneliness epidemic that is affecting all of us. I understand that this stuff is a little more nuanced and that I could be oversimplifying this, but I do genuinely believe that it's a good place to start when you start feeling lonely. If you find yourself doing this, slow down and think about it. And if you think I missed anything, let me know in the comments where you can help other people. If you enjoyed this talk, you can support the channel by buying me a coffee in the description and subscribe for more talks like this. I'll see you guys soon. The modern social media landscape breeds dissatisfaction with your life. I mean, why would you be happy with a well-paying 9-to-5 job? This guy is traveling the world with supermodels and making more than you in half the time. Why would you be okay with your one-bedroom apartment in a run-down but safe area? You know so-and-so online who lives in a penthouse in downtown Miami. There's always someone better looking, wealthier, happier, and better than you in basically every way, and you see this through their self-publicized adventures on platforms like Instagram. And you wish you were them. You long for the fame, the fortune, the girls, the physique, and the positive mindset that all of these people have. And I get it, the lifestyle looks amazing. But what if I told you that they probably long for what you and I have? The beauty of being unknown. Because here's the thing, a large overwhelming majority of the people that you see on social media are conformists. People who, by definition, conforms to a behavior accepted by the masses. Their entire online brand is based around not what they want to do, but what they expect other people to want to see. While again, there are always exceptions to rules like this, and there are no doubt some very authentic people who are famous on social media, a lot of the mainstream ones are at least somewhat of a conformist. So let's dive into this conformity thing and explain why it's a recipe for disaster and why, at the end, there is that sort of beauty of not being known. Let's say you have a gaming channel on YouTube. You post what you love for a few years and people really start to enjoy it. But, well, it's now been 3 years of making the same type of content and you want to change it up. So you try something new, something that this evolved version of you enjoys playing, talking about, or exploring. But, well, your audience doesn't like it. So, because you got hooked on the possibility of money, views, subscribers, and the need for endless growth, you go back to the old type of content that you've been making this whole time. You keep pumping out stuff that you don't want to make, and you start to hate it. You get lazy, your videos start declining in quality, and because of this, your viewers lose interest and start switching to watching channels that do what you do, but actually enjoys it. So, the quality of the content on these other channels is way better than yours, which causes your channel to look even worse until it slowly declines and eventually starts to die. This new YouTuber that your subscribers have switched to has the advantage here. Why? Because he isn't making content to conform. He's doing what he enjoys. His advantage is the same one that you had when you started, and since you conformed instead of embracing this type of content that you truly enjoy making, you lost. And this doesn't only have to be related to social media fame. Think about the limitations that are sometimes put onto you by the expectations of family members and friends. Maybe you want to move to a new city, but your parents will judge you if you do. Maybe you want to pursue your passion in art, but you keep hearing advice from people who tell you that it doesn't make enough money. Maybe you want to date a girl that you really like, but your friends don't like her as much as you, so you decide to sit it out. There are countless examples out there of how external social pressures can cause you to live a life not authentic to yourself, and this is one of the reasons why there is a sort of beauty in being unknown. I keep touching on that, so let's actually dive into it. See, when you're unknown, you don't have the social pressures of conforming to other people's expectations. You can embrace your inner curiosity and desires and do what you want without caring about what the rest of the world thinks. Sure, you can still do this if you have friends and family, but at least for me, it is nearly impossible to live a 100% authentic life without caring at least a little bit about other people's reactions to it. I mean, look what happens when you see a celebrity or social media star do something that doesn't quite fit their brand identity, and look at the number of people who judge them for it. And even if you aren't famous, guess what? You still have a personal brand, and people will sometimes judge you when you do things that don't align with that brand. Regardless of the scale of how known a person is, not having this pressure from others really does allow for a sense of freedom that someone enamored by being known doesn't quite have. I mean, Elon Musk smoked weed for 2 minutes on Joe Rogan's podcast and Tesla stock dropped over 9%. Imagine having that level of attention on you where you can't even live a normal life. And this is exactly what I mean when I say that comparing yourself to people online or on social media is a pointless endeavor. Sure, the fame and opportunities seem great, but is it really worth it when you're being followed and judged every single moment of your life? But that's just the surface of this stuff. I want to dive a bit further into the nonconformity thing. See, a majority of people are average. I mean, that's literally the definition of average, so there's no denying that. So, when you have specific interests, goals, and passions that don't align with the average person, it seems like a majority of the people are against you and that you don't really fit in with anyone. And I think this is one of the problems causing the loneliness epidemic in modern Western society. And this doesn't mean that you can't relate across the board and that nobody understands even a sliver of who you are. It just means that some things don't align, and every time these things don't align, you get some tension and anxiety from it. For example, when I told my friends that I bought a few albums on iTunes for the first time in like 10 years, because I'm not a fan of DRM and wanted to actually own some of my favorite music, they literally started laughing at me. Sure, I don't expect them to buy music that they really like, but that's my mentality on DRM and that's why I did it. I just wanted to share the experience with them. But because this action didn't align with the other aspects of my personality that these friends already knew about me, they judged my actions since they didn't conform to the ideas that they followed. Why would you buy music? Why don't you just use Apple Music like the rest of us? And this is the thing with being a true nonconformist and doing this across the board. You will have a lot of people who attack or judge you. I heard something on a podcast about a story involving monkeys in a science experiment. Basically, these monkeys were put into a cage that had food at the top of a tree. But the scientists shocked the monkeys every time they tried to climb the tree. So, obviously, the monkeys stopped trying to climb the tree to get the food. They then took some of the monkeys out and put new ones in, and of course, the new ones, seeing the food, also tried to climb the tree. And they as well got shocked. But eventually, they stopped shocking the monkeys, and since the monkeys obviously knew that they got shocked in the past, they still didn't climb the tree. But here's where things get interesting. They started taking some of the old monkeys out and putting new ones in, new ones that had never gotten shocked. When these new ones saw the food, they also tried to climb, but this time there was no shock. However, the monkeys that did get shocked started pulling the new ones out of the trees and beating them up. And the funny thing is, eventually, none of the monkeys in the cage had ever been shocked. They took out all of the ones that ever got shocked, and all the ones that were in there literally had never had that experience. But yet, when new ones were introduced every single time, the herd mentality of the ones that were still in there still pulled them down and beat them up, even though, like I said, none of them had ever gotten shocked at all. And this is conforming personified. When you do things that society at large doesn't agree with, they will pull you down from the tree and attack you every single time, even if they don't know why they're against the thing that you're doing in the first place. And being unknown means that these monkeys aren't there to judge you at all. So now, once you climb the tree and make it to the top, you'll feel like you accomplished something amazing. But guess what? Being a nonconformist doesn't mean being alone. Because little did you know, there was an entirely different group of monkeys at the top of the tree that have been chilling there the entire time. You couldn't see these monkeys from the ground, but now that you're at the top, you see how great they've had it. There's not only bananas up there, but there's every fruit imaginable. And that's the thing. Being a nonconformist may seem lonely, but that's only the case because you're half committed to the act. You have the urge to do something different, to climb the tree, but you also care too much about what the other monkeys think. But once you finally break free and make it to the top, there's a whole community of other nonconformists out there that have been embracing and living this lifestyle, and you can now relate to them because of the challenge that you've just been through. These people aren't the normal ones. They are the above average people, the ones who align with you on more things and the ones that you can truly connect with. At first, you didn't think they were there, but now that you see them and are living the lifestyle that they're living, you can connect on a deeper level than you ever could with the normal people. The normal people will forget about you, and now, with you being unknown to them, you can live an authentic life and connect with the others who share your vision. And that, my friends, is the beauty of being unknown. Sure, this doesn't mean that you have to cut everyone off and live a life of isolation, because being around people is important. But it shows that you need to live a life authentic to yourself, and once you do, it will pay dividends. This topic was all over the place, but I really wanted to talk about it because it touched on a few things that have been on my mind lately. Did I miss anything? Do you have anything that you want to share with other people about living a life of nonconformity? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you like this talk, feel free to buy me a coffee by using the link in the description, and we will speak again soon. So you make eye contact with the girl at the store, and she smiles at you. Your heart stops for a second, and you think she may be interested. You consider approaching, but you get scared and continue shopping. It weighs on your mind, but you move on with your life. And then, the next time you're in the store, the same thing happens, and the time after that, and now you're actually starting to think about this girl that you keep seeing at the store. After a few more visits, you finally think about it and realize that it's time to walk up to her and say hi. Maybe ask for her number or get her Instagram. So you swallow your fear, approach her, mumbling out the, "Hey, I see you in here all the time and I wanted to get your number" line that you've been thinking about for days. And you say it, but before you finish, she interrupts you with, "No thanks, I'm not interested," and walks away. And you feel devastated and embarrassed. This is the worst moment of your life. You vow to never risk that terrible feeling ever again. You have lost. But what if I told you that there's a way to consider this a win? To walk away feeling proud of the rejection and to never lose in a scenario like this, or with anything ever again. In fact, losing won't even be in your vocabulary anymore. So, to hammer in this point, let me tell you a story. When I was in college, I went through a phase of extreme focus on my fitness goals. I was trying to be extremely active in the gym and work consistently every day on putting on muscle. And after a few months of work, I was finally starting to see progress. I mean, it wasn't crazy progress. I've mentioned in the past how I never really put full energy into it, but it was enough progress to encourage me to continue what I was doing. I felt great. And then, disaster struck when I absolutely destroyed my leg in a skiing accident. I broke my leg so badly that I had to get a metal plate and a bunch of screws put into it, which, by the way, are still there today. My months of gym progress went to waste, and now I was unable to walk for almost 4 months. I couldn't drive, I couldn't lift weights, and my leg was stuck extended, which, by the way, is really inconvenient, for a long time. Once I was finally able to move, I had to go through a few months of physical therapy. I went from making progress on my fitness goals to not even being able to support my body weight on one of my legs. In fact, I couldn't even bend my knee. It was brutal, and I hated every second of it. I spent months annoyed, questioning why this happened to me, and wondering how long it would take me to get back to normal, to be able to socialize, see my college friends again, and get back into the gym. It was a loss on nearly every single level. So after half of a year of sulking, I got back into the gym slowly and went through the tedious process of rebalancing my muscles, only being able to leg press 60 pounds. I could barely bend my knee, and I wasn't even able to do anything remotely athletic for the rest of that entire year. And as I was going through this, I began to realize something. See, I always thought I was invincible. Doing stupid stuff, attempting sports that I really didn't have the capability to do, neglecting my body with alcohol, eating junk, missing out on sleep, and so many other things that just really aren't good for you. But seeing how easily I completely destroyed my leg and how long it took me to recover, it got me thinking about how quickly life can change. And as weird as this sounds, I was kind of glad that it happened. While it felt like a loss for a long time, and I was pouting and whining about the whole experience, it eventually turned into a win. An injury that reduced my leg's mobility for the rest of my life, put me in debt because US medical bills are stupid, and caused me to be bedridden for months was one of the best perspective shifts I've ever had, and honestly, I don't regret any of it. See, this is exactly the mindset that you need to never lose again. Every single negative effect or circumstance is a win when framed the correct way. If you look at these losses as stepping stones in the non-stop learning experience that is life, you see how everything connects and how it ends up bettering you and leading to things that happen down the line. Sure, getting rejected or curved by the girl in the grocery store is a terrible experience, but if that happens to you multiple times, you're going to gain the tolerance to not even care about approaching people anymore. You are numb to the rejection, so you can walk up to anyone and, well, if they reject you, who cares? It already happened before. So walking away from that initial rejection is going to hurt, but if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's actually doing you a service. My parents have had disastrous marriages. They got divorced when I was 3, my mom's been married quite a few times since then, and my dad got married and re-divorced from his second wife, and my whole childhood was a weird web of relationships. I saw abusive ones, great ones, temporary ones, and toxic ones, and for years I looked at it as a generational curse that I was bound to follow. I mean, I wouldn't wish that type of chaos on anyone, and if you've been through it, you know what it's like. But at 23 years old, my perspective has changed, and I'm glad I got to witness all of it. I've become the person that I am today because of these chaotic losses, and now they've become wins. Because I was raised partially by a single mom, I learned to understand women and be in tune with my emotions. Because I've seen so many toxic relationships, I know how to create a good one. Because I didn't have my dad around as much as I should have, I learned how to be self-sufficient and make my own path in the world. Sure, all of these things are definitely negative, but I don't consider them as losses. And while they all feel absolutely terrible at the time, they've laid the groundwork for the person I've become today. So this is my point. Once you realize the potential for a positive outlook on losses, you will never lose again. I've talked about how you should slow down and enjoy the journey, and well, that's what life is. Look at every single day on an individual level and make it your goal to improve a tiny bit each time the sun sets. Observe your past negative experiences and try to learn from them and realize every single thing you've ever done in life has all led you directly to this point where you're watching this video, hearing these words, and being prepared to make changes. Maybe you had a terrible breakup. Well, guess what? It taught you what to look out for in future relationships. It taught you how to be a better boyfriend or girlfriend. It taught you how to open up to someone. It taught you something. You just have to find what it is. And once you do, it'll feel like a win. If you one day get married and have a beautiful family, your breakup led you there. If you open a business and become a multimillionaire in 5 years, your breakup led you there. Once you extend your time frame long enough, each of these losses will be transformed into a win in one way or another, even if you don't initially see how they connect. If my parents didn't get divorced when I was young, and my mom didn't get remarried multiple times, and people didn't come and go in my life as I was developing, I wouldn't have learned how to be independent. I wouldn't have gotten out of my comfort zone in college. I wouldn't have moved to the city that I'm in now. I wouldn't have met the girl that I've fallen in love with. I wouldn't have decided to start this YouTube channel, and I wouldn't be able to change other people's perspectives by sharing my thoughts with them in this video. It's all connected. And see, my friends, that's how you never lose again. Try to piece it all together, and I promise you'll see a light at the end of the tunnel, and with easy adjustments like this, you can literally change your life. I know there's a lot of these channels popping up on YouTube, but I'm trying to make this one different by providing actual insight with stories that affected me. I understand these may not apply to everyone, but I like sharing my perspectives on the internet, and if it could help even one person, then I consider it a win. So if it did, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments, and that's it for today's talk, and we'll talk again soon.